you're live.
Hello.
Okay, so I have to share this.
People. What?
Right? Gotta share the live thing?
Yeah,
I gotta find it.
before we hit record.
Okay. So there it is. And how do I share it?
As long as the record works today.
Yeah. If it doesn't, we're getting enforced. After someone's volume is on.
That's yours.
It's mine.
Big surprise.
Copy link. Hi, Leona. Leona, I saw that you liked my post. We're actually going to talk about that. No, I want my cup there.
Yeah, but is it in the way of your stream?
Oh.
Okay.
Share. Why don't I know how to share things?
Link.
Okay.
I'm sharing some stuff. Hi, everybody. We are just sharing.
Okay.
We're not really talking because we're sharing. Stream.
Right.
You have to share first.
I shared first. Okay.
Well, I have to do some more sharing. Hold on, Jenny.
You're the worst.
You are the worst.
Great.
Go. How's the vid doing? The vid, good?
I don't know. Video seems okay.
Last minute episode. You don't want to call it what we're going to call it?
No.
Okay.
I couldn't type that fast.
Right. Should we say hi to everybody?
Okay.
Should we start this?
We should probably start because I'm going to run out of energy. Because I came into the studio, so we had audio problems the other
Want
night.
to talk about this on the recording or no?
Oh yeah, hit record.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Hold on. We have to do our intro.
Okay.
Just you waiting.
I need a new technical producer for my podcast.
I need one.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I'm horrible.
Yes.
Reach my,
you want to switch? I'll be like the content expert. You can be the content expert, and I'll just be the producer.
Sure.
Okay.
That'd be great. Are you ready?
Mm-hmm.
We're going to record now.
Maybe.
Hi, and welcome to the Changing Perspectives podcast, the show where we discuss a variety of topics, including grief, parenting, pop culture, and relationships. Join us and explore a number of changing perspectives. We're your hosts, Jenny and Josh Brennan. Hi, Jenny.
Hi. I wonder if people can actually hear us today.
I wonder, can I just apologize to the Changing Perspectives fan base, if there's any left? I don't know what is going on with the audio. We're having some issues. We use computer-based software to record and edit, and the system we use just was, I don't know what happened with the.
I think it was user error. I think it's the same thing that happened when you deleted an episode a couple months ago.
That was a different issue, but yeah, user error.
Same user.
So we think we fixed the mic settings. We're not entirely sure. I think it might be time for us to seriously consider some upgrades and actually get some hardware to record into and, be like grown-up podcasters. Because we're still, transparency, everybody. We're still using the beginner stuff. Like we're still using, you want to start a podcast, here's what you should do. And that's what we're still using. We have almost 10,000 downloads. We have 74 episodes. I think we should upgrade.
Okay, great.
Anyway, that's the story.
And we can upgrade when this gets bigger.
Okay.
Okay. I think maybe you should just read some user manuals.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah. All right. You're on video, and you just said that's what she said.
But that's
okay. Okay. It's different. So that was special content for the video.
Exactly. So you just outed everybody.
All right. Okay.
Okay. How are you?
Well, I'm good, but I came in here at the office. So Josh was working on the audio stuff, trying to figure out a solution for 45 minutes. Mm-hmm. And I came in and I was really fired up about this Dak. I keep wanting to call him Shepard. It's not. Dak Prescott, Skip Bayless thing. And I was like, let's just hop on and do an episode and we can test audio that way. And then I sat here for 45 minutes testing audio. That didn't work. So I honestly don't know if this is going to pull the right way.
Was it 45 minutes?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So we learned that you can't be too close to the mic.
Suddenly.
That's new. And I need to be turned way up on the playback. And that way we'll be even.
Okay.
Anyway, so hi everyone. We are live streaming this episode. This is a surprise episode. This is going to drop tomorrow. Jenny was impassioned and inspired to get on the air and talk about this crazy story with Skip Bayless and Dak Prescott from America's team. I take offense to that as a Patriots fan, but the Dallas
Okay.
Cowboys. And so we're going to talk about that. But before we do that, real quick, hey, just a reminder, don't forget to sign up for the newsletter. And Jenny, we can announce to everyone that you have a new website. Are we not ready?
Oh, no, we're ready.
Yes,
Yeah,
let's
yeah.
do it.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Oh.
ChangingPerspectivesOnline.com. Brand new website, everybody.
Yes. Well, now I'm writing actually on here what we're talking about.
Great. That's great. So
Oh no, I didn't want to end the broadcast. Oh dear.
this says we're still live.
Okay. Now I'm having user error. This is karma.
Yeah, it says we're still live.
There we go.
Yep.
Okay. Well, I lost that.
So yeah, we have a new website for Changing Perspectives, both for Jenny's articles and her writing and blogs, as well as the podcast. So Changing Perspectives Online. In fact, I need to prepare on the credits to make sure I say the correct website now.
You also then should use the new email address.
And what is that for everybody?
info@changingperspectivesonline.com.
info@changingperspectivesonline.com.
So Changing Perspectives was a little tiny part of when I started my private practice, right? Well, before I started my private practice, I started the blog, the Changing Perspectives blog. And it was this little tiny piece of my Jenny Brennan website, and it's grown. And then there was a podcast. And so it was finally time to pull all of the Changing Perspectives content out into its own home. And so that's what I did. And so it lives in its own space right now. All of our podcast episodes get dropped in there, and everything's categorized. So categorized by the main topics that we talk about. So there's a page with grief articles, mental health articles, like mental health and wellness articles, relationships, and parenting. Those are the 4 main topics that I write about. Same 4 topics for our podcast. Plus, for podcast, there's also a 5th page that's pop culture and sort of extra content.
Yes.
So check it out. You can sign up for the newsletter. And what is it? ChangingPerspectivesOnline.com. Because the person who owns ChangingPerspectives.com wants $40,000 for the rights to that. And that's not happening.
And we don't have that kind of revenue right now.
Even if I did, I would not, just on principle, I don't want to pay him that. Okay.
So I'm going to drop into the live feed right now to the website.
Oh, you're free.
Yeah.
Okay.
There we go.
All right.
So also, did you all know that Changing Perspectives is brought to you by BetterHelp.com? That's BetterHelp.com. BetterHelp is an online counseling resource who makes professional counseling accessible, affordable, and convenient. They offer 4 ways to get licensed counseling through video sessions, phone call, live chat, and messaging. As everyone knows all too well, these are challenging times, and the broad expertise of the BetterHelp Counseling Network could provide anyone struggling with life's challenges the help they need anytime, anywhere. Visit BetterHelp.com/changingperspectives. After signing up, you'll be matched with a counselor in 24 hours or less. Again, everyone, visit BetterHelp.com/changingperspectives.
Okay. All right.
So, Jenny, what are we chatting with people about tonight?
No, I just lost the
That's
4th
awesome.
article I had. We're talking about the Dak Prescott, Skip Bayless situation that came to light today. So I don't know when this is going to drop for our audio listeners. Maybe tomorrow, so maybe Thursday. If not Saturday. So for those of you listening later, it will have happened on Wednesday, September 10th, which coincidentally is also, I want to get the,
September 11th.
nope, that is true, but today is September 10th.
Yes.
And it is, what do I want to call it? It is World Suicide Prevention Day.
Yes.
Today is World Suicide Prevention Day.
September 10th.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So, do you know anything about this other than what I read to you over the kitchen?
No, I'm actually pulling
table?
up an article right now, but go ahead.
All right. So I will read you the article.
So those who don't know, Skip Bayless is a sportscaster. I think his show is called Undisputed. I want to say we can look that up. I
Yeah.
It's familiar.
Skip and Shannon, undisputed.
Yeah, Shannon Sharp from the Broncos.
Mhm.
When we lived in Denver, Shannon Sharp was playing. That's how long.
Cool. Okay. All right. So I have an article. I can explain it to you and the listeners. So in an interview with the Dallas Morning News, Dak opened up about his brother's death and his own mental health struggles. He explained, quote, all throughout this quarantine and this off season, I started experiencing emotions that I've never felt before. Anxiety for the main one. And then, honestly, a couple of days before my brother passed, his brother passed from suicide. I would say I started experiencing depression, and to the point of I didn't want to work out anymore. I didn't know necessarily what I was going through, to say the least, and hadn't been sleeping at all. Okay. So what are your thoughts? Before I say what Skip said. So he's quarterback for the Cowboys, right?
Yes,
I think I have him on my fantasy team.
I think you do.
I think y'all made fun of me when I drafted him
Well, no. Tell everybody why.
because I drafted a quarterback first.
Silly mom.
I thought you all would wait for me. I was like running 2 minutes late, but you weren't, and I had
Listen,
first draft pick.
ESPN sets that up. I don't have any control.
I think that's a lie. I think as the draft holder, you could have had them wait. Anyways, so okay. So what are your reactions to hearing that? You're a man. You're a football lover.
Yeah, but I co-host a podcast about mental health, and I have a pretty significant background in healthcare.
So
And I
with
myself have been in therapy and on antidepressants, so I
I don't think you've ever said that publicly.
just.
Okay.
So I have a different reaction. I'm like, oh, he's grieving and needs some help, and feelings of similar to depression in relation to his loss. He has a loss, and he needs help.
I'm a little curious on the timeline because it sounds like maybe his depression and anxiety started before his brother's death. I don't know the timeline, and clearly we did no show prep. This was just I read about this over dinner, angrily posted about it, and then said, "Let's talk about it." So okay, here's what Skip said. Sorry, I have to keep the mic, but I can't read over it.
I have it right here.
The Forbes
I have
article?
Deep compassion. That one.
I have deep compassion. Oh yeah, I think that is how we started it. Go ahead.
So he said, this is Skip Bayless talking about Dak Prescott. I have deep compassion for clinical depression, but first of all,
Thank you. Don't ever say,
No.
I have deep compassion or I care a lot for anything you say, any nice thing you say. If you say but after it, you've just erased all the nice things you
yes,
said. So he doesn't give
you don't have deep
he
compassion.
does not give a flying crap
Yeah.
about clinical depression.
That reminds
Nor
me,
does
I
he
know
understand it.
This is not anything close to what he said, but what comes to mind is, I'm not a racist, but
Mhm.
like
Yep.
that. Look, it erases everything in front of it. I have deep compassion for clinical depression. He should have said and, but I have deep compassion for clinical depression. But when it comes to the quarterback and the NFL team, you know this better than I do. It's the ultimate leadership position in sports. Am I right about that? Bayless said on Undisputed on Thursday, quote, you are commanding an entire franchise and they're all looking to you to be their CEO, to be in charge of the football team. I'm reading from a New York Post article, just FYI. He goes on to say, because of all that, I don't have sympathy for him going public with, quote, I got depressed, and quote, I suffered depression early in COVID to the point that I couldn't even work out. Look, he's the quarterback.
But I'm going to stop you because the way he said it was I couldn't even work out. That's how Skip said it.
Yeah.
Suggesting that he was lying or that it's not a real thing. Okay. This is clearly this is where all of my passion intersects, right? We're talking about mental health. We're talking about grief. We're also talking about suicide.
Yeah.
Okay. And he's saying, you couldn't even go to the gym.
Man up is what he's saying.
Yeah.
Man up, because you have a real important job as the leader of a football team.
So what does that convey? What does that mean? That it's only okay to have depression or anxiety or grieve the loss of someone really important in your life if you are not someone with an important job?
Exactly.
Or
Is it never okay?
Is it that it's never okay if you're an athlete? Is it that it's never okay if you're a man? What is it about that? Because I look at that as the complete opposite. Like, here is a man who's getting up and openly saying, look, this is what I struggled with. This is what it was like for me. And that is depression, right? Like, when you have depression, and we still haven't done an episode about it, but I struggled with really, really significant depression early on in life, and then really significant postpartum depression.
Right.
It's real. Like, getting out of bed sometimes when you have depression and or anxiety is the hardest thing to do. I imagine if you're the quarterback for America's team, it's super hard to like live in the limelight and or the spotlight and have all of that stuff. You can't just choose happy. So here is this guy who's saying, this is what I dealt with. I got help for it. This is what I struggled with. And he's doing it openly. Like, that is so brave.
Did you quote what Dak said earlier?
Yeah, that was what I.
He talked a lot about.
There might be more quotes in
Yeah.
your article.
Can I read
Sure.
this? New York Post wrote or quoted Dak and said, "Mental health is a huge issue and it's a real thing in our world right now, especially the world we live in, where everything is viral and everyone is part of the media, I guess you can say, and get on social media and be overcome with emotions and be overcome with the thoughts of other people and allow that to fill into their heads when those things aren't necessarily true. Whether it's getting likes on Instagram or something being viewed or being bullied or whatever it may be. All of those things can put thoughts into your head about yourself and about your situation in life that aren't true. I think that it's huge. I think it's huge to talk. I think it's huge to get help and save lives. I can't begin to explain how potentially damaging some of the stuff that Skip Bayless said was.
The damage is already there, right? Like, what group kills themselves the most, dies by suicide the most?
Young men.
Actually, older men, like 30 and above.
Right, I guess
Men. It's men.
I'm 40, so that's what I was thinking.
I pulled some stats. The rate of suicide is highest in middle-aged white men. In 2018, men died by suicide 3.56 times more often than women. Why do you think that might be? Could it maybe be because of this, that you're supposed to man up, that it's not manly to go get help, to talk about depression, to talk about anxiety, to say to your friends or your family, this is what I'm struggling with? Everett's manning up right now in the living room. He would like to speak out and come in here with us. He's just going to keep barking.
Yes.
But this is part of the problem, right? And if you're a man and you happen to have a big important job, I think everyone's job is important, but let's say like a high stress job, whatever, you are a CEO, you're a business owner, you're a quarterback for a football team, how extra hard is it for you to get help? If you live in the public life, it's even more hard, especially when the conversations around it are like shameful and secretive and you're not supposed to like talk openly about it. So the damage is already done. Skip just like is adding fuel to the fire.
We should be like celebrating the stuff that Dak said. Can you imagine being, in depression and suicide is
Which,
real.
in a way, because Skip said the things he did, now we are talking more about it, right?
That's true. But the most at-risk demographics, what you just shared, middle-aged men. But I know from my work in healthcare how real and serious and scary it is to see teenagers and young people, kids, depressed and suicide be what they think is the only answer. And to have somebody that you look up to, I mean, Jacob's in the room next to us playing Madden right now.
Right.
He is a gigantic football fan. And to see someone that you look up to, a hero, come out and say, quote, emotions can overcome you if you don't do something about it. Mental health is a huge issue and it's a real thing in our world right now. That, to see if you're somebody like a 15, 16-year-old kid loving football, one of your favorite things in the whole world, you look up to this superstar, and you have also depression or you're dealing with some stuff and maybe you've just had a loss and whatnot, and you see one of your heroes say it's okay to do something to get help.
Like to name it, to
Yeah.
label it,
Yeah.
to say like it was hard for me to go work out, right? Exactly what I thought of, and maybe part of that is because we have teenage sons,
Right.
and that's also where my brain went. Yeah, right. To have like an adult role model figure talk about and label and name and normalize something that lots of people are experiencing is huge.
And I love where Jack talks about social media as well. And that is something you and I have talked before on the show about the potentially negative impact of social media and a little bit about how it can affect kids and the whole element of cyberbullying and the potential for kids to be digitally and through social media. The fact that Dak recognizes you can get bogged down and have these things, make it worse. He references getting likes on Instagram or something being viewed or being bullied, whatever it may be. Like, listen, I'm not a Cowboys fan, but I'm a Dak Prescott fan for sure, and not because he's a great quarterback. It's because of all the things he's saying.
So I have some statistics about
Please.
youth suicide. So this is from the it's from the Jason Foundation. So suicide is the second leading cause of death for ages 10 to 24, according to 2018 CDC data. This kind of data is always behind, which is why the COVID stuff is always behind. It's not a big secret, but okay. Data like this always is a little bit lagging. So this is data from 2018. In March 1st, 2020 would have been when we got like the most recent 2018 data.
Right.
So just to put that out there. Data is actually my third passion.
It is.
So suicide is the second leading cause of death for ages 10 to 24. It's the second leading cause of death for college age youth, and ages 12 to 18. Okay, so we're talking about for kids basically 10 to 24. Second leading cause of death is suicide, right? And what leads to suicide? Often mental health that is not being treated, not being diagnosed, not being addressed, that is being hidden, that is sort of under the guise of it being shameful. And here's someone like Dak Prescott speaking up about it and saying, in March, this was how bad I was. I wasn't able to get out of bed, didn't want to go to the gym, didn't want to work out. I'm a quarterback, didn't want to work out. And now here we are 6 months later, and he's feeling like he's in a better space and he's able to talk about it. So hope, because hopefulness is so important for anyone who's battling any kind of mental health or grief, right? More teenagers and young adults die from suicide than cancer, heart disease, AIDS, birth defects, stroke, pneumonia, the flu, and chronic lung disease combined. Yeah. This is a big deal, right? Today is the day we're sort of paying attention to suicide. We're lighting candles and putting them in our window, like we have one. But there's so much more that we need to do. This is a huge problem, especially in America, because we have this culture where we can't talk about it. Then when you add on top of that the loss, we definitely don't give permission for people to be sad, right? You can have 3 days off, maybe, your bereavement leave. I'll bring you a casserole. I'll hug you for a couple of days and then get over it really quickly because I don't want to talk about it. Especially, I don't want to talk about it if it's a suicide-related death because that feels yicky and uncomfortable for people, and so they don't talk about it.
Well, and the fact that he said what we all go through when we have a loss, and I didn't even feel like working. For me, I love running and I love playing guitar, and when I'm in a bad spot, those things don't even.
Well, to get the low motivation, right? It's so common when you're grieving and or when you're clinically depressed and you have anxiety. And really, at many points in your grieving process, you, Josh is pouring himself a soda. That's really good audio. Your grief. Okay. Your grief looks a lot like clinical depression.
Yes.
The symptoms are the same.
Talk about that.
The difference would be with clinical depression is you really your sort of self-worth, your self-image is really poor. But everything else is pretty much the same. Okay, that's not all. Skip said more. He said, oh, wait, where did it go? Sorry. Okay. Quote, if you reveal publicly any little weakness, it can affect your team's ability to believe in you in the toughest spots, and it definitely could encourage others on the other side to come after you. Great. So he just labeled depression, anxiety, suicide, and grief as signs of weakness. Oh my goodness.
I don't even know.
I don't even know. Here's the bright spot for
Don't
me
even
though.
know.
Like I found out on Twitter, which is actually where I get my news from. Unless like there's a news alert that pops up, I don't watch the news. I don't read newspapers or whatever. Like I go and I get the news.
Twitter's great.
So Twitter is often where I like find out about something and then I go research it and read articles from multiple news sources. What I was seeing on Twitter, I didn't see one person supporting Skip's comments. Not one person. And these are strangers. These are not people I know, so it's not people that like I follow or follow me. I don't actually know how people show up on your because I put it in the hashtag down. He wants to come in here. He knows we're recording. Maybe his Facebook is on. I did. I also accidentally told Deborah. We have a group text with our two boys, and really quickly, we also have one with Deborah, Auntie Deborah, and I accidentally texted the wrong group.
He's still barking too. Jackson, do
Nobody responded to my text. Not even Deborah. She's watching football.
Speaking of Twitter, I was just looking and I want to reference this USA Today Sports article, but David Hellman, who is the staff writer for DallasCowboys.com, also LSU, that's cool. He tweeted, Dak Prescott basically said, "I'm a human being.
Yeah.
I can be vulnerable at times. It's been really a hard year for me, and I want to normalize mental wellness and admitting when we aren't okay." And Skip Bayless basically said, "Nah, toxic masculinity is a way for me to be because football."
Yeah, I saw a lot of comments like that. And so that's a bright spot for me because the comments I was seeing were for the most part from men who are football lovers, right?
Yeah.
And so, boy, do I hope that there's going to be like a groundswell of support in other athletes, not just football, but other like major athletes who serve as role models for kids and for all of us, right?
Yeah.
Like they're in the public eye. We're watching them, especially right now. Isn't football on like right this minute?
Right this now. It's probably what
Right this now.
people watching.
Right this now. It's on.
Right this now.
Right this now.
Thursday Night Football.
Are they in their color rush uniforms still? I have to like relearn all the football stuff.
Yeah, it's the kickoff of the season.
And we're missing it, so nobody is watching us.
But I want to talk about a little bit about what Skip said about leadership. Now, you mentioned it a few moments ago, but someone else, Carter Donick on Twitter said, going as far to say it weakens his leadership qualities, that is completely unacceptable, is what this Carter Donick said. And I couldn't agree more. In fact, the point I made to you before, when you first told me about this, was I think it makes him a better leader.
Right?
I really do. Like, to be vulnerable and show. Listen, Dak's got a few years in the league now. He's not a rookie. But in addition to being a leader to older guys on the team, an NFL quarterback's going to lead everybody and be a role model, especially to the rookies coming up. These kids are right out of college.
Oh, that's true. I didn't think of that.
To have someone.
They're babies.
They're babies, and to have
their brains, if they're young enough, their brains are still not even fully developed.
But and some kids don't even finish 4 years. They're that good. They can ask to be drafted or enter the draft as a junior or after their junior year. And the thing is, like, you have this person who is a superstar, but also the leader of your team. So not only is he amazing, and besides being the leader of my team as a rookie on the Cowboys, but he's also somebody that I look up to and I get to talk to. For him to come out publicly and say that we're all potentially dealing with some stuff and it's okay, and you should go get help and not ignore it, that's huge, and makes him a better leader. That was my point. So
I
I
think so,
completely
too.
disagree, obviously, with everything Skip Bayless said, but specifically about the leadership qualities, it makes him a better leader, I think.
I agree totally. Like because it's authentic and it's vulnerable, and those are and honest. I think those are three things that I really value. In fact, I think that's what I put on my new website, because I try to be those three things. I try to be authentic. Like what you get is what you see.
Ooh.
I love that. Yeah, I love that you're just not listening to
I
me.
was listening, but I just saw a great quote.
And honesty, but also vulnerability, right? Because we're humans. And I know I still don't think you've ever watched any of Brene Brown's TED Talks or her lectures or anything, but she there's no way you have. I love you. You
Okay.
have not.
Way
But
to
you
out
should.
me.
You
I definitely don't watch enough TED Talks. I will admit.
You
Just in
should.
general.
Here's a homework assignment for you, as if you were a client. Before we meet again, why don't you download like a podcast, because you like to consume podcasts. I bet she's a guest on a podcast. Just listen to her.
Okay.
She's researched vulnerability and happiness. Well, she's researched happiness, and what she's often found is that vulnerability is connected to happiness.
Yeah.
So this like concept of being real, being vulnerable, showing your human side actually makes our lives more fulfilling, makes connections more real, and leads to more happiness. He's being really vulnerable, right? Like he's about to start the football season, and here he is saying, "This is what I just went through, and I'm going to name it, and I'm going to say what I did, and I'm going to normalize it."
Yeah.
That's really vulnerable because there are people out there like Skip. And I know he's not the only one, right? There are other people who share that toxic masculinity, that like be a man, like pull yourself up by the bootstraps. Like we just dealt with it in our days. Baloney, because we're a PG show, but that's not what I want to say.
Easy target.
Fiddlesticks, you didn't deal with it in your day. This is not a new concept, but life has gotten harder because we live life 100% in the spotlight because of social media, especially the kids, college kids. Like they came out of the womb pretty much with a phone in their hands.
Right.
When we were going to high school, if we got bullied, we could just make sure we didn't walk by the groves after school on our way home so we didn't get dumped, and we'd be okay. We'd go home and that would be it. The bullies wouldn't follow us to our house.
Right.
They wouldn't like have notes falling from the ceiling. But now with social media, like it's endless. And that's the reality we live in right now. Life is hard, and it's okay to not be okay, whether it's because you've got depression or anxiety or some other mental health issue, or you're grieving. It's okay to feel broken sometimes. You don't have to deal with it yourself. There's help out there. It's hard. Like I'm not gonna lie, it's really hard to find good help. I think every therapist I know right now is full and has a wait list, right? And I've heard lots of horror stories about therapists that are not really good fits. So it's hard to get help. So when you do like finally hear from someone like Dak that they got help, maybe that's the push you need to pick up the phone or send an email to someone, and maybe that's a little reminder or a little boost to keep going if that someone is full or is not a good fit.
Listen, I already did the library, but I can't really let you say all that without transitioning and do another quick plug for BetterHelp.com.
Well, because that is an option now, right? Like so many clinicians now have moved because of COVID, have pivoted to an online format, and a lot of insurance companies, this might be the only time you ever hear me say that I'm proud of insurance companies. A lot of insurance companies have covered telehealth benefits for behavioral health, including copays and deductibles. Like I think all of the insurance companies that were covering them for my clients in the beginning are still covering them 6 months later. And I don't know when they're stopping. I think some might be stopping this month. But in Massachusetts, legislative officials are pushing for all insurance companies to cover telehealth, behavioral health indefinitely. Not necessarily covering copays and deductibles, but to allow it as an option. So you don't have to go to sit in a room with someone like that. That's really hard for you to do. There are options, right? You could go to a local therapist who's offering online therapy, or you can go to one of the online platforms. We vetted out BetterHelp, and actually I almost became a clinician with them a few years ago. I realized as I was vetting them out But instead I opened my own practice. Remember, I was gonna like be with another practice, but instead I opened my own. So there's lots of options out there, but you need someone to sort of say, "Hey, I see you. It's okay. What you're feeling is normal," and that's what Dak did. And hopefully, that's the message that people take away and listen to. And I hope that tomorrow, as we move into the first weekend of football, that more athletes come out and speak openly about it. Because I'm sure he's not the only one that has struggled with grief, depression, or anxiety and suicide.
I'm gonna share this. We're gonna drop a couple of these links in the show notes for today. And this is the USA Today sports article that says,
Fascinating.
Skip Bayless is rightfully getting ripped for his terrible comments about Dak Prescott's depression. And another Twitter comment I want to read, which really spoke to me, from Clarence Hill Jr., which was my point, but Dak Prescott said he would be a fake leader if he didn't acknowledge his depression. Being a leader is about being genuine and being real. If you're not mentally healthy and if you're not thinking the right way, then you're not going to be able to lead people the right way. And that was my point, that it makes him a better leader, that he's coming out and saying these things.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, this is such an important topic, and the fact that we've got somebody this day and age who's in the public eye and as popular and as successful as Skip Bayless and ubiquitous. I mean, he's all over sports, especially the NFL. Big name in NFL media, Skip Bayless, and he's he's getting rigged up the goals, and that's exactly what needs to happen because of comments like that. Jenny, we've been on for about 35 minutes. Do you want to wrap it up?
Yeah, we can wrap it up. I thought you were going to say a break. No.
No. I just have some information about World Suicide Prevention Day.
Perfect.
To close this
But
out.
before, can I just say something
please.
about Skip? So I don't necessarily buy into like cancel culture. Like I think we all make mistakes, right? So we all have said stupid things. We all have said hurtful things. We all have posted. Maybe not we all. I know I have. Like we posted things that we wish we had not posted or said. I don't necessarily think something like this means that like his career should be over or that we should like cancel culture Skip. I do think this is an opportunity for him to become educated, provide education, and correct his statements.
Yes.
If he doesn't, well then maybe I change my mind about
Cancel
it and I might do hashtag cancel Skip. But is that a hashtag? Probably is already.
It's probably trending right
So I just wanted to say that, right? Like I can't say it's great for Dak to come out and show his human side without also saying Skip is a human and as humans we make mistakes.
Yeah.
And he's older, he's from a different generation. Maybe I don't know anything about his background. Maybe these were beliefs that were instilled in him and he doesn't have the education to see otherwise and he doesn't have the education to know how harmful his words are. I hope that a week from now, a day from now, that he's reversing. Like truthfully, wholeheartedly, not because his like publicist said you have to, but that he's able to really do some deep soul searching and understand and change his perspective on mental illness because it is not a weakness at all.
Right.
Okay, that was it. So you want to talk about World Suicide
I do,
Prevention
but
Day?
before that, I just want to say, I think it would be really poetic to have the Cowboys and Dak have an excellent banner year and have his performance be like one for the record books and have them do really well throughout the playoffs. Of course, the Patriots side of my brain is like, nope, screw the Cowboys. But
Sorry, Brian.
I think I do hope that a little bit of retribution comes Skip's way through the Cowboys performing really well.
It is a hashtag. I'm not ready to jump on the hashtag, the cancel Skip. I would say hashtag Skip. Please educate yourself. Is that too wordy of a hashtag?
Share with him a couple of articles and links. So I guess this will end up. It's not really concise. We're already at 37 minutes. This will be a regular size episode. But we want to end today's episode, this bonus episode, this surprise episode, with some information about World Suicide Prevention Day, which is today, September 10th, and this will come out tomorrow morning, September 11th. So yesterday, if you're listening to this today, come out was World Suicide Prevention Day. This is Awareness Day observed on the 10th of September every year in order to provide worldwide commitment and action to prevent suicide with various activities around the world since 2003. The International Association for Suicide Prevention collaborates with the World Health Organization and the World Federation for Mental Health to host World Suicide Prevention Day. It started out pretty small in 2003 to 1999. On its first event in 2003, the 1999 World Health Organization's Global Suicide Prevention Initiative mentioned with regards to the main strategy for its implementation required two things. The organization of global, regional, and national multi-sectoral activities to increase awareness about suicidal behaviors and how to effectively prevent them. And the second strategy for implementation was the strengthening of countries' abilities to develop and evaluate national policies and plans for suicide prevention. And this Prevention Day and this event has grown every year. And I'm sorry, I know it's a little taboo, but I'm getting some of this information from Wikipedia.
I thought we talked about this. We talked about Wikipedia is not a source and you can't use old data.
You told me that we're recording. You walked in and said we're going to record an episode of Go
I
Live.
did, but I thought being married to a college professor, you would know, like, don't use Wikipedia as a source.
This is the best I can offer right now.
Okay. All right. Okay.
But seriously, folks, today is International Suicide Prevention Day, Awareness Day, Prevention and Awareness Day.
Yeah.
Correct?
But I kind of hate days.
I know. Well,
I don't mean like Mondays and maybe I do hate days.
no.
I mean, like,
instead of real quick, I'm going to interrupt you. Instead of sharing the Wikipedia link, I will share the link to the IASP.org.
the International Association of Suicide Prevention.
That's what I'll share instead of the
Much better
Yes.
source than Wikipedia.
Yes.
Okay.
Yay, Josh.
You're learning. I don't like days,
I know. I get what you're saying.
right? It feels kind of hallmarky. I get the intent is great, and that's just where our society is right now. But this should be something that we talk about every day,
Yeah.
because it's actually, I didn't read all of the stats that I pulled, because this stat I think is really important to hear. 1.4 million suicide attempts in 2018.
Wow.
1.4 million. Okay? Think about what that means. There's probably people in your life that have attempted or have at least seriously thought about it or had a plan, and you don't even know it.
Right.
So please think about that. Like, if you are someone who's sitting there listening to us saying, like, I think Skip's comments were okay, like, it's all being blown out of proportion. One, I'm not quite sure how you're still listening to us. Two, I think maybe I'd like to have a conversation with you about that. And three, think about that. Like, think about the fact that how you're talking, you might be talking about this with someone at work, right? Your buddy at work or something. That person might be one of the 1.4 million people in 2018, and I can assure you it's more this year, who have attempted suicide.
Right.
How hurtful would it be for you to sit with them and downplay mental health, to make fun of people who have depression or anxiety or are grieving and talk about it? Think about your words.
Yeah.
And if you believe what Skip does, okay, we're all entitled to our opinions. Yours is wrong in this
Right.
case. Like, this is my very big soapbox. You're wrong.
Yeah.
Wrong. But you don't have to share it with everybody, because that opinion is super hurtful. So keep it to yourself.
Mhm.
Okay. All right.
Yes.
That's
Thank you.
my
I love this.
That's my
I love that we
soapbox.
did this episode. I love that we talked about this. It's important. On the Facebook live feed, I just shared a bunch of links to to articles we talked
Oh,
about
you did.
today.
What's the top?
In addition to the IASP website, which has a bunch of information about World Suicide Prevention Day and about their organization. So again, I agree with Jenny. I don't like days. I'm kind of like our friend Gila.
I like nights.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Gila, by the way, pay attention and be on the lookout for an episode dropping next week featuring Gila Pfeffer, who's an author and mom and blogger. Anyway, she is also an advocate for breast cancer awareness as a breast cancer survivor herself, and she talked about the fact that it's not just about October for her. Just like to Jimmy's point, it's not just about one day. It's about paying attention to these things year round, all the time,
Mhm.
because it's not just one day that folks die by suicide.
Oh.
People die by suicide every day.
Chrissy Goodich just also said that afsp.org is a great website also.
Oh, excellent.
Thank you, Chrissy.
Thank you for sharing. All right. Do we have anything else before we close this one out? Let
No, I
everybody
think-
go watch.
Go watch
Thursday Night
football.
Football?
Yeah, no, that was it. And I think we have to go give Everett some attention. I'm sure he has made himself known. Clearly, he wants some
That's
attention. Okay. So thank you for joining us. I apologize I didn't even put makeup on or anything.
Neither did I.
But wasn't planning on doing this. But thank you for joining us. Thank you if you're on the rewatch. And for those of you listening on the podcast, thank you for sticking around and be on the lookout for our next episode next week.
Yes.
Okay.
All right, everybody. Well, that is going to do it for today. Thank you so much for listening. For today's show notes links, you can check out